Race fans, hello and welcome to Thursday night for Above the Cushion right here, the official podcast for Humboldt Speedway and 81 Speedway. We're fixing to just get it started here next week, or this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. We have a closed practice, drivers only. Fans are welcome to come out as long as you buy a pit pass and get in there, and we encourage you to do that. See what's going on with the drivers and the crews down there. See what they go through on a test session. I think you'd be very surprised. A lot of stuff gets changed. A lot of times, go out and make a handful of laps, come back to the pit area and get stuff changed around and go back out and try to find that sweet spot as we're going to start kicking off racing here pretty quick. Of course, Humboldt Speedway going to kick the year off for the FOE World the 20th and 21st for the Heartland Modified Tour for the Whitworth Spring Classic, the second year for that double race Friday and Saturday night over at Humboldt Speedway. So Heartland Modified Tour, Trenton, Eric, Stick, and the whole entire gang for Racing Dirt will be in the house. Of course, that will be streamed if you absolutely cannot make it to the Speedway, but we encourage you to get to Humboldt Speedway over there on 1663 North Georgia Road, Humboldt, Kansas. It's always a great event, going to be a good time, and we're looking forward to kicking racing season off here at the end of March. Do have an enduro that's going to happen here at the Speedway. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the show as the enduros are really kind of taking off. Here at 81, we did the Frostbuster 100 at the beginning of the year. We're going to do the Godfather and, of course, the Twister City at the end of it. So we're looking forward to race season getting going. The crew's been here at 81 Speedway getting everything ready. Of course, our great crew over at Humboldt's getting everything ready to go as John Allen's still recovering from his little foot incident. So, both tracks are looking fantastic. We're ready to go for the race season. But tonight, I'm super excited. Probably one of the most requested guests to get in here, and caught him on the off season of his show that runs on the same day and about the same time. And first and foremost, I have to give a huge shout out to Melissa Powers.
Okay.
I owe her 92 trillion favors. She's never asked me for anything, but
she will, let me tell you.
I call her all the time. Can I please have this person's number? Can you tell me about this? And she's amazing. And so last year my daughter has a little business, and she was at the state fair, and I said, well, Hardy's over there. I'm going to be there all week. Maybe we can do something on the midway. And then I got to looking at your schedule over at the fair, and I thought, well, that's not going to happen. So,
and that's Andy. That's a weird deal. You say that. The Kansas State Fair is the first place I have ever had to sign a contract.
Yeah.
To what I am going to do, how many times I have to do it, where I have to be, when I have to be there, and what they will do for me. I've never signed a contract in my life until I started. This will be my 30th year as the MC for the grandstands and the night shows over there this year, and it's fun. It's an old hometown week for me because I'm from Hutchinson.
Right.
So, but at the same time, it's amazing when I think I've got some downtime. Oh no! I check my phone. Crap! I got to be at the pig barn or somewhere.
Yeah, hanging out in the beer garden, and you got to run off and
beer garden. Yeah, I've got a chair in there too.
Yeah. You were kind of talking. You told me a little story about the office we have here, which is a mobile home, if and Roger Glass, of course, a great family friend of mine, had him on the show, but you told a pretty good story off air that he didn't mention at all sitting in here.
I can't believe he didn't mention that. As much of a salesman as he is.
He's looking around, a little bit older in his age. He's not quite trying to do the mobile home thing anymore, but yeah, he's a, character and you've been around a long time, but I want to go back. I'm always curious how people even get into this, world, right? I'm thrown into this world. My grandpa, my uncle raced, just started, they're bringing me out to the racetrack at 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. It's in my blood now. But as far as I know, you don't have any racing family.
No, never have. In fact, I'm probably the only race fan in my family. My brother, who played on the PGA Pro Tour for 8 years, was a 4-year All-American at Oklahoma State University, had never attended a race. Came home one year in the middle of the summer, and I invited him out here to the Speedway. Well, he came out, and his name's Jim Hardy. He came out and stayed the whole night, and after it was over with, he called me over to the side and he said, "Hey, brother," he said, "let me tell you something. You don't have a racetrack out here. You got a place for cars to go in circle and people to drink beer." Because there was like 90 cases, empty cases of beer thrown over the wall at that time. He was not impressed, and he said, "I'll never come back." And
I don't know how that couldn't impress you.
he just, my brother and I are complete opposites. Let me tell you, he lived in he still does. He lives in Houston on Champions Golf Course, which is a private community. His neighbor 3 doors down used to be the lead singer for Chicago.
Okay.
Didn't know who he was. Had no idea. Right across the street was Huey Lewis.
Oh.
He didn't know who Huey Lewis was. So I looked at Rachel, his wife, and I said, "What is going on with Jim?" She said, "Well, you know your brother, he's all about golf."
Yeah.
And that's just pretty much where it went with him.
Yeah, if Arnold Palmer or Jordan Spieth was living, he'd know exactly.
Oh, he'd know exactly where he'd be down there all the time.
On.
Yeah, no kidding. He'd be there all the time. But Jim was, I have to give him a shout out. He was inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame as a teacher.
Nice.
In 2019.
Okay.
So the guy's got some talent.
Yeah.
He's got some talent.
8 years on the Pro Tour.
8 years on the Pro Tour, and he was written up in Golf Digest as one of the best players from tee to green at that time. But they said, give Hardy a 5-foot putt, and he'll miss it. And it went straight to his head. Straight to his head. Could not make a 5. And if you can't make a 5-foot putt on the PGA Tour, you might as well just.
Yeah.
Well, it did. It wrote him off.
Wrote him off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you were out using your player card before you got here today. I know that's always a joke with Melissa.
What happened to the 65 degrees today?
Well,
Come on.
I want to say this time, maybe last year, we were still dealing with snow. So I'm going to take what we got over that. It's been a very mild winter. I mean, mild.
I probably played more golf this winter than I ever have in my life.
Yeah.
And you're right, but all the guys, we hadn't played because of the weather in the past 5 days. We hadn't played for about 5 days, and everybody got on the phone this morning and said, "Who's playing this, that?" It's supposed to be 68 degrees. Well, we'll play. It never touched 68. I don't know if it got to 55.
Yeah, it's a little cooler, which isn't too bad, but yeah, you can tell in Kansas, you can tell, and they give you kind of a high time by 10 o'clock you can say we're not getting there.
They just need to look at you as a weather, and that's the one thing we always used to talk about out here at the Speedway before cell phones were out here. The phones would light up. If it's raining in Hutchinson or El Dorado and it's not here, do they believe you?
Right.
Or is it, or isn't it? And the Speedway is built on an outdoor venue. So it's got to be, you've got to convince the people in Hutchinson that are going to drive 50 miles and spend the money to get here, to get in and watch the races and eat and all that it's not raining here.
Right.
And, that didn't always happen. It might not have been raining when they called, but by the time they got here, they brought it with them.
Right.
And it's raining. So now then, okay, well, you've got that. Over a period of time, it's just a tough game to play.
It's a JR and I, we labor over the weather. We have a really nice weather station up in the, as you call it, the condo, but up in the
condo. Is it still a condo?
Well, we call it the tower, but
okay.
We have a really nice weather station up there to kind of monitor stuff. And every once in a while, I'll be watching and talking, looking around, and all of a sudden I'll see spots on the window, and I'll look over at him, and he's like, show me the monitor, like I don't know what's going on, but this is not anything crazy. And then we try our best, and I know people want us to make a decision sometimes what's going to happen, but we try to get one.
And the situation you guys have now is everybody's a meteorologist because they've all got their cell phones. They all see they're screwed into some network that's going to give them a weather forecast. They all know something's coming, where it's at. You've got 2,000 meteorologists
Yeah.
out there now that are, I thought you were going to say they're showing you your phone up there.
That's happened too. That
coming.
100% happened too. You know, and you're high enough in the tower, you know, and it's pretty straight shot to the east. You can see stuff,
Yeah.
and it'll be over in El Dorado, and
Oh.
people will be like, "It's lightning! It's lightning!" It's like, it's lightning over Frontier Oil over in
There you go.
in El Dorado. It's nowhere close, and we're gonna get this feature in. We're gonna go home. Yeah, we trust me, we would not leave you guys out here, but that's the tough spot, and you know about just having an outdoor venue. You don't have a crystal ball.
And a lot of
You can't
times from
predict
that tower, which is, you know, that tower's been up there for a long time.
Yeah.
But you've got a great view, and you can sometimes see it coming.
Yeah.
From whether it's coming from downtown Wichita, you can look down there, and all of a sudden you can't see the Holiday Inn anymore.
Yeah.
Well, you know it's coming.
Yeah.
Or you can look, like you said, over by El Dorado, and you can watch those fields back there. That's coming. The only place you couldn't see is behind you.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of storms coming from Hutchinson, the Hutch area, coming from west.
I always like to look out the door, you know, back to the west and just kind of see the parking lot, because you get people that,
Yeah.
you know, in the middle of the summer, they're not showing up at 5 o'clock. They're showing up at 7 because the sun has fallen a little bit, you know, to the trees behind us, and because they don't want to roast out there, and I don't blame them.
No.
You know, so I'm always trying to keep people updated of, you know, the stands look a little empty, but there's people pulling in, and we're fixing to kick it
And that
off.
is one of the nice things here at 81 Speedway. The stands face east. So when that sun does start to go down, you do get some
Oh
comfort
yeah,
from it.
it quick too, quick it'll fall. But you know how go back to it. Who got you out here? Who approached you to bring you out here? How did you end up here?
It's a great story. Great story. You know, I've played a lot of golf in my life, as well as my whole family has. And Bo Klein used to be the track announcer out here. Worked for the sheriff's department. Well, I knew who Bo was because I used to play golf in Hutchinson on Sundays. Then I'd load the guys up, and we'd come over here for Sunday night in the super modifieds.
Okay.
That was every Sunday. We'd religiously do that. Well, I'm playing in a golf tournament one year, and I knew who Bo Klein was because I'd sit in the grandstands, and I knew Bo Klein.
What year was this?
Late 70s.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Good luck. Good luck finding some listeners or an audience that goes back then. It was probably late 70s. And I'm playing in a golf tournament one year, and Bo Klein's up in front of us, playing it with some guys from the sheriff's department and one from KFDI,
Okay.
Terry Burford, who used to sell advertising for him. Yeah. We're going way back
Yeah,
here,
this
Andy.
is
We're going
before
way
me.
back. Yeah. So anyway, we're having to wait on every hole because of the number of players. And I introduced myself to Bo Klein because I knew who he was. And I'd been a race fan in Hutchinson at the fairgrounds since I was 10 years old. Well, Bo and I get to talking one another, and he invites me over to the Speedway. Said, do you ever come over? Every Sunday night we come over. Okay. So Bo invites me over, and I'm sitting in the grandstands, and he sees me. He said, Warren Hardy, we need you up here to the tower. So I go up there. Well, Bill Hickman used to be on there with Bo Klein. He'd sit up at Bill Hickman, and Bo Klein did a duo up in the tower. And I can't for the life of me remember who did the infield. And boy, people are just going to shoot me for this, but I can't remember. But anyway, I go up there, and we do some things, and Bo hands me a mic, and he said, Hardy, call the next division to the lineup area. So okay, what do we got? Street stock, heat race number 2, we need you to the lineup area, turn 4. Okay. Well, after it's all over with, Bo takes me down, and I'm standing there beside him, and my girlfriend's with me, and C. Ray comes over. Well, I know who C. Ray is, but I've never met him. And C. Ray walks right up to Bo and says, who's that guy you had on the mic tonight? And Bo said, he's standing right there. And I introduced myself to C. Ray, and that was about all that was said. Well, they came over to Hutchinson to race at the fair that summer.
During the fair, or
No, this was during the fair.
Okay.
When we still used to race there.
yeah.
And Bo calls me because I was in the nightclub business over in Hutchinson at that time.
Okay.
Bo calls me and said, Hardy, Hickman can't make it. And this was like on a Friday afternoon. Hickman can't make it over. Could you come over to the races at the fairgrounds and help me out this afternoon? Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to. This is back in the days of the super modifieds.
Yeah.
We're talking Frankie Lease, Walt McCorder, Dale Reed, Roy Bryant, Harold Leap, all of these guys.
Yeah.
Emmett Hahn.
Yeah.
So I get over there and I do a little bit of Bo does all the announcing, and Bo is a big guy. Big guy. Only guy I've ever met that could drink a 6-pack of Heineken hot and still be surviving.
Ugh.
But anyway, one thing leads to another, and after it's over with, they come to one of my nightclubs on a Saturday afternoon. The whole family does, the Hall family and everybody. I meet everybody, and one thing leads to another. At the end of the season that year, C. Ray asked me, would I be interested in handling the public relations for 81 Speedway? Well, I've been a race fan since I was 10 years old, but I've never been Mohawk Speedway. You probably don't even remember that.
I've never heard that.
It's now Salt Hawk Speedway.
Okay.
Or Salt City Speedway,
Salt City.
whatever it was. Yeah. It used to be Mohawk Speedway because it was on Mohawk Road.
Okay.
They had they had 6 lights. 2 in turn 3 and 4, 2 in 1 and 2, 1 and 1 on the front and back straightaway. That was all the lighting there was at Mohawk Speedway.
Okay, so we're day racing.
We raced it. They raced at night.
Okay.
It was night. They just couldn't see. It was back in the days of the old Hendershot people and all of those guys and everything. So anyway, C. Ray asked me if I'd be interested. I'd love to. I love racing. I've always loved racing since I was 10 years old. And I came over here that next spring, and this is a true story, Andy. I'll never forget it. And I was out here 41 years, and I was a speech major in college with a graduate in speech, and I have never been flabbergasted like I was that time. But anyway, to get this story going, come here, and we're doing a spring fling, is what it's called. Race Saturday and Sunday in the afternoons.
I remember that.
Because it's still early in the season. Well, we get halfway through Saturday, and C. Ray comes up to me and says, you need to interview this guy, and this guy. Okay, I know who they are, but I just know them from the grandstand. I don't know who they are. And he said, and by the way, he said, Willie Wheelchair will be from KFDI, will be here tomorrow. Okay, no problem. I don't know who the hell this guy is.
Yeah.
I care less because it's country music, and I'm not a country music guy.
At that time, he probably wasn't as legendary as he was in the...
he was legendary, let me tell you.
Right?
Yeah, he was KFDI Ranch House all the way. So anyway, we get through Saturday. Goes fine. I do some interviews, have a great time. And Bo and I are talking about everything, what we need to do for Sunday and all. Sunday comes around for the spring fling. Place will hold about 4,000. That means there's 8,000 eyeballs up there. All right. C. Ray comes up to him and said, I just got a phone call from Willie. He'll be on his way. I said, how do I know who Willie is?
Yeah.
He said, he's the only guy that's going to pull up here in a convertible Cadillac with the top down and roll up onto the scales. Okay, so we get to going. We're running some qualifiers and all of this. And Willie, here he comes. Here comes this guy, convertible cat, pulls this. He's got some help. I think one of the Aldershoff guys was with him. Gets the wheelchair out from the back. C. Ray comes up to me and says, have you met Willie yet? And I said, no. So Willie, he goes over and gets Willie, and we're right underneath the American flag. Hi, Willie, Warren Hardy, how you doing? And he said, I'm fine. I could tell there wasn't a good vibe here because Willie was doing the infield interviews.
Oh, okay.
For 81 Speedway for about 8 years before I show up. Now I'm doing them. Okay. Intermission comes up. C. Ray comes to me. He said, Hardy, I'd like you to visit with Willie. He said, he's down to the ranch, KFDI. He's a legend down there. He's been here for a number of years. Everybody knows who he is. Okay, so I go over to Willie and said, C. Ray'd like us to do something, Willie. He said, all right, I'll do it. So I'll just meet you under the American flag at intermission. So I'm standing there, and here he comes. Ladies and gentlemen, remember looking up at that 4,000-seat grandstand. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome a voice that you're going to recognize from the ranch house down there at KFDI, legendary man here at 81 Speedway. Please welcome Mr. Willie Wheelchair. And I handed him the wireless mic. He looked up at the grandstand, looked me right in the face, looked back up at the grandstand, and this is a quote from 40-some years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think of a guy that take a job away from a man in a wheelchair? Shoved it right back in my face and rolled her out. Rolled it out. I stuttered. I mean, what am I going to say? I did. So I stuttered a little bit. Bo, back to you. And I walked over to Willie. I said, what the hell was that? He said, pretty good stuff, wasn't it, kid? And oddly enough, we became great friends after that. Anytime we would have special guests, like traveling series come into the Speedway, all I had to do is call Willie because he was on in the mornings, make sure my guest that he was available, and say, Willie, what time can I bring whoever it is down? Whoever it is down there. I'll be here by 10:30. I'll put you on at 10:40 and give you 5 minutes. And it was, it was wide open. It was we had that carte blanche all the way through. But Willie would always end it with, when the interview got over with, hey, Hardy, right when you get work. Okay, really good. Really good. So that's how it all started. That's the long story. You got the LP version there.
That's good. That's a good one.
And I'll never forget that, because as a speech major, you're supposed to be ready for the impromptu. Don't let somebody throw a curveball at you. Don't look at somebody right in the eyes, because if they do something stupid, you may forget what you're talking about. I was no more prepared for Willie to look at me and say, what do you think of a guy to take a job away from a man in a wheelchair? Shoot, I just did that. Good Lord. I found later on, as we knew each other, we both found out that we love fireworks.
Yeah.
We used to go to the fireworks downtown, him and his girlfriend and my girlfriend and I. We'd go there almost anytime they'd shoot them. Had a lot of fun. Willie and I became real good friends.
Yeah.
But Willie Wheelchair was Willie Wheelchair.
Always jab you.
He was going to jab me. He was going to jab me, and I wasn't going to get the last word either. I didn't try to either.
Yeah.
That was just Willie.
So you and Bo, you go along. How many years you guys are tag team?
God, Bo Klein and I was working the infield, and Bo, oh my God, we worked together for maybe 12, 13 years, and Bo just finally passed away. And I didn't want to go upstairs. I wanted to be down with the drivers.
Yeah.
I mean, they were the ones that accepted me. I sat in the grandstands and watched these guys since I was 10 years old. I wasn't, how does a guy in the grandstand walk up to Frankie Lease and say something intelligent that he's going to give you an answer?
Yeah.
Because I've seen the way these guys react. I've seen, it was one of those, but I wanted to be down in the infield because that's where I felt comfortable.
Yeah.
I didn't have to carry the show.
Yeah.
We couldn't find an announcer for probably 5, 6, 7 more years that would just be able to carry the show up there. So rather than dead air, I was having to do stuff that he should be doing upstairs, downstairs, while I'm still trying to find people to interview or to go to wherever the spots are, like you do,
right, when
there's a situation or something. And I finally looked at C. Ray one winter, and I said, tell you what, let me give it a try upstairs. And we found, that's when we found, I believe it was Dennis Kincaid.
Yeah.
God, what a treat. He's a treat, Dennis Kincaid. He's a radio, and C. Ray used to say when I first came over here, announcers are a dime a dozen. Well, they're not.
They're not.
They're not. No, they're not. And he found that out later. Yeah. It took about 25 years for him to figure it out, but he found out. Dennis was one of those guys that always had to have the last word.
Yeah.
Whether he was interviewing Mark Kinzer or Steve or Sammy or any of these guys, Dennis always had to have the last word. Even though he had the last question and they answered it, he would have to have the last word. Well, and it was something real quippy that was just, but that was radio Dennis. That was him. Then we went with Dennis. he went on to do some other things, driving in NASCAR. He was driving a trailer for NASCAR. I don't remember what DeWalt. He was driving the DeWalt trailer for NASCAR. So he got into that. Then we got Scott Stiles out here.
Yeah.
And Scott, I knew Scott from when he was a quarterback at Hutch JUCO.
Okay.
When I had my nightclubs, I actually had to throw Scott out of a bar one time.
So what were you promoting the nightclub stuff?
No,
or what were you doing with the nightclub?
No. That was the one thing I always believed, and I learned this in school too, that people don't want to know what you're doing. They want to know what they came to see.
Okay.
And you're not the show, because you and I have a microphone that we can say whatever we want. It's a lot of power.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't think anybody's listening. Say something stupid. They're all listening.
Oh, yeah.
Guarantee you'll know that. I
yeah.
learned that. I learned that
yeah.
many times. But they came to watch the races. They didn't come to hear what I did in Hutchinson with the nightclubs or anything like that.
Right.
So, no, never mentioned that.
Okay.
When I had the mic over here, it was all about racing and trying to tell people, everybody has their own concept of what happens. Whenever, if there's an incident on the track, C. Ray always used to tell us, if there's a 2-car spin out going in turn 1, there's only 2 people in this whole facility that know what happened. The guy in front and the guy in back.
Yeah.
Nobody else does. Everybody else got an idea. The guy might have looked like the guy in second punched him out. But did his foot did the leader's foot slip off the throttle?
Right.
Did the motor just go dead for a second?
Did something happen with
only
the car?
those 2 guys know what happened. Everybody. So you can't go over there as an infield announcer and say, well, so-and-so hit so-and-so and spun him out, and this was your top 2 cars, and now your leader's going to the back.
Yeah.
Because that's not right. That might be what happened, but that's what you saw happen.
Right.
2 guys know what happened. So you've got to give the synopsis of what the situation is over there and where it's going to play out.
Probably the most famous infield interview was with Jack Hewitt after on I think it was the USAC one. We're not going to repeat it because it was kind of some colorful words, but that's probably they just walked up. What happened? Oh. He just unloaded. That's probably the most famous infield interview ever.
And as an infield announcer, like you are, that's the best question you can ask him.
Yeah.
Because if he wants to be an idiot, he's going to be an idiot.
Oh yeah.
But on the other side, you have to go up and ask him what happened. Because if you don't, now all of a sudden you're the idiot. Well, come on, you saw it, Andy.
Right,
what
yeah.
happened? We all saw it.
Right.
Why didn't you ask him? I remember we were in Manzanita Speedway one year in Phoenix, Arizona. Keith Hall was still alive and owned the Speedway. And Ron Schumann, who used to be from Wichita, but lived in Tempe.
I know that name.
Oh, great driver. Drove the Afixico car, super modified here for a long time. But Schumann lived out there. And Schumann, they had the World 100 that day, and I was doing the infield interviews with another guy. Schumann came out and got passed on the last lap of his heat race. And the other announcer grabbed Schumann, and I said, okay, I'll go get the guy that finished second. I interviewed him. He's interviewing Schumann, and he said, first question he asked Ron was, Ron, you know that guy that was behind you almost caught you and was going to go by you? If there was another lap in this race? And Schumann, I'll never forget, looked at him and said, you're a flippin', I cleaned that up. Said, you're a flippin' idiot, and walked away from the guy. How do you tell somebody that won a race, a guy's going to pass you if there's more laps? He didn't pass him. Now, Schumann could have handled it a little bit better than he did.
Right.
But at the same time, what a stupid question to ask a winner. What'd you think of the guy that was going to pass you if you had another couple of laps?
Yeah.
Pretty stupid question.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, some of the younger generation, Manzanita Speedway was what we call Wild West Shootout now, which happens at Central Arizona, or was at Vado for a few years. So I'm old enough to know the Manzanita, winter time racing, but some people may not. But that track's gone now. It's wiped off the map, unfortunately. But you've a lot of time at the Speedway. You've seen divisions come and go, and technology, now, now it's like a spaceship up there. I got computer, I got a tablet, I got all this stuff, right, to tell me what's going on. And then when our great friends at Racing Dirt or Start to Finish or the World of Outlaw, the World Racing Group, had the great pleasure, Ruben Morales and Rob Klepper, to be up there with them, and it's just a television station.
It is.
There's 100 cameras, that going on. You have everything, but when you got started, there was none of that.
No,
there was not a computer.
You had to get your own information.
There was not My Race Pass. There wasn't any of that stuff.
No, there's no real time stuff coming up there in front of your laptop or something. You had to, if we had the World of Outlaws, and back when I got started, when Ted Johnson still had the World of Outlaws, there was no announcer for the World of Outlaws. None of the traveling series had their own announcer.
Okay.
So when CRA, the California Racing Association, used to come in from Ascot Park in Gardenia, California, they didn't have their own announcer. So I would have to go down and meet a Mike Sweeney, a Brad Knopfsinger, Eddie Worth, some of these guys, and find out, okay, what made you so special?
Right.
Eddie Worth, I don't know how he ever fit in a sprint car. Guy's 6'6", but he came out of dirt bikes.
Right.
Well, I didn't know that. So you had to research your own stuff, and then as time went on, you would run across these guys again, and you'd find out, okay, we've done this and that, but they would know, and that was the one thing that I was very fortunate on in the years that I was down in the infield or even up in the tower. I was received by the racers because I'm not out there to make them look bad.
Right.
It's the people paid whatever they paid to come in and watch them. They didn't come in to listen to me or watch me.
Right.
So if I can get you to say it, that's why I say you did right when you said what happened. Don't give they didn't want my synopsis of what happened. It wasn't going to match half the grandstand, but I want to hear it from Jack Hewitt. I want to hear it from Brad Knopfsinger, Eddie Worth, or Mike Sweeney, or any of these guys. I want to hear. So you were straight on with that question. What happened? Let them. That's who the people want to hear it from.
Right.
You can talk all you want, but I don't care what you thought.
Right.
Andy, I know you saw it, and I saw it. I want to hear what Jack Hewitt said. And, sometimes it's pretty colorful.
Yeah.
It can be pretty colorful. I remember when we were we went to Kingsport, Tennessee one year. C. Ray and I did, back when NDRA was still running.
Yeah.
Best late model series, I still say, that's ever been out there.
I think the NDRA turned into the Star Series down.
No, I think did it? No.
Well, Star Series kind of was right after the NDRA.
I think it was
down in the Louisiana,
because Robert
Mississippi
Smalley was
area.
the president of NDRA, and Skip Huff was his right-hand guy. And they came through here about 4 years in a row. Jeff Purvis was their big winner out of Kingsport, Tennessee, oddly enough.
Yeah.
Well, we go to Kingsport because they got the Strohs $100,000 to win. They had 300 and some odd late models at this show. And the worst treatment I have ever seen for promoters and his staff to be in contact with the drivers and the teams. They were pitted 3 blocks away at this place because it was an old horse track.
Oh, okay.
There was seating all the way around it. And this is the Stroh's $250,000 race. No communication because there were no phones back then. And this is the late 70s, maybe barely early 80s, maybe. And so the communication, if you didn't get to the driver's meeting and you didn't know where your practice was amongst the 300 and some odd competitors that were there, and you missed it, they just told you to go back pits. I'm standing right there by them, watching them come on the track. Nope, you were supposed to be out here too. You're back. So they got you there Tuesday. Tuesday and Wednesday were practice. Thursday, you practiced in the afternoon, and then they ran time trials for all these cars. One car made $10,000 from the little smoke cigars. I don't remember what they were called now. But anyway, one car. So far you've got 300 guys that have been there with their crews, Tuesday and Wednesday making no money but spending money. Thursday, one guy made $10,000. Friday was qualifying. Saturday was the features. They paid nobody on Friday's qualifying. Saturday was the only night they paid, and you didn't get anything unless you were a 24-car feature event for $25,000 to win.
Wow.
And there was like $100,000 in prize money in this thing. And Stroh's had rumored, Smalley and Skip had got a little listening that Stroh's was going to back out at the end of the year. Oddly enough, up on the top of turn 3 and 4 was Coors. Robert Smalley was probably not the most presentable guy at a speedway, but he could go into a corporate office and walk out with whatever he thought he wanted.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. The guy could get the sponsorships. And I remember Tommy Joe Pauscher from Pea Ridge, Arkansas. He came out the next year. We had NDR here after the Kingsport race. And Tommy had told me, he said, I'm going to have to find another series at Kingsport because he said, the guy's about to break me. Because Smalley had him traveling all over the place. Tommy shows up, and I looked at him and said, thought you weren't going to do it. He said, if I don't do it, the guy, he hadn't paid us yet for the prize money that we had coming from last year. I said, I'm broke. It was amazing, but the money that Smalley went through, my God.
Yeah.
We got down there to Kingsport, and there was more stuff floating around in that tower than you can't imagine. And but the guy had what I still believe was the greatest late model series that's ever been put out there was NDRA. And Jeff Purvis, my God, what a guy to have win your series.
Yeah.
He was super guy. Went on to NASCAR, and I think he got in a crash in the Busch Series at one time, hurt a knee or both of his knees. I know he still lives in Kingsport.
Yeah, I know he had a small. I don't follow NASCAR a whole bunch, but I know he I listen to the Dell Jr. Download religiously, and they talk about Jeff Purvis, quite often on there. Yeah, he had a career.
Super nice guy. Imperial Chevrolet was his sponsor, I think. White car, number 75, and just a guy that could have been a prima donna. I mean, in the years I did the infield interviews, I met some prima donnas.
Yeah.
Steve Kinzer was the biggest one. Sammy was the worst interview. Sammy was available, but he wouldn't answer. Everything he answered. I remember first time I interviewed Sammy. He answered me, and I looked at him and said, so what, Sammy? I'm going to anticipate your next syllable on the next question I answer. Because everything he answered me in was a one-syllable answer. Yes. Yeah. No. Huh? Yeah. Okay. No. And Steve would run if he saw Mike coming at him, or in the later times I was down there, when we had a video person here, I'd have a guy with a camera behind. Steve would actually go hide, so he wouldn't have. And I'm saying that, but I'm also understanding that everywhere those guys go, you've got somebody that wants to stick a microphone in their face, and not everybody is a brilliance.
Well, no. Some of the early days, they didn't understand they're just there to race. They didn't understand the marketing and how to, Sammy's not really the most wordy person in the world, but he gets a little bit better when he's at the Chili Bowl or the shootout, because he understands that he needs to say a few more words. He has become a good
interview now. Yeah, Sammy has.
It's a little abrasive every once in a while, but it's at least they're at least having a conversation going on, because back in the day, they just didn't understand that stuff. There wasn't a Midway full of merch trailers and everything like that to be able to, hey, that guy's awesome. I'm gonna go down there and get a T-shirt. That wasn't that stuff. But as time evolves and you get down the road, you can it gets a little bit better. So, but man, you've had opportunity. I've had some pretty good opportunities, but nothing like you have to talk to some high level drivers and some world
You know,
outlaw
one-
stuff.
you know,
because,
one year,
because when the World Racing Group comes, it's a whole team.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
you're on the out.
Right. I got my phone and my tripod, and I'm trying to.
They're
make
only
some
calling you
videos
if something breaks and
Right.
needs fixed. Hey, Andy, this isn't working. Get it fixed, and you got 10 seconds.
Hey, there's cars with fenders over there lined up. We don't know nothing about that.
No, and they don't want to know.
Where's that kid at? Bring that kid up here.
Exactly.
That's where I'm at. I'm here.
And I will say this about Ted Johnson: at least he had the foresight to get a regular announcer to follow that series, and that was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was brilliant because when World of Outlaws would come in here, I didn't know. I knew the guys, but I didn't know what they did a month ago,
Right.
2 weeks ago, where they were at in the point standings. You know how fast things go by you up there in the tower.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to keep up with what's going on the track, what's down. You don't have that much time to learn about everybody, and Ted Johnson did that. Todd Staley with USMTS does a hell of a job.
Yeah.
Trying to, I know he's been through some announcers that, but he does it. I looked at the last time I saw Todd up there, I kept telling him, said, Wichita is going to beat one of you guys one of these times.
Yeah.
That 50 laps, we're not used to that.
No.
I know Brian Franz used to tell me, those laps, the last 20 laps, Hardy, are just hell.
Yeah.
They just are. We're not used to it. And I'd never thought of that. But I kept telling Todd, somebody from Wichita, we got too many good drivers
Yeah.
here in Wichita for you guys to keep coming in here and just kicking our butt. And I looked at Todd the last time I saw him, and I said, they had a 50-lap race that night that went green, white, checker. And the whole place is just a vortex of sound.
Yeah.
I just set the mic down because his announcer didn't, Lon, I don't remember Lon's last name, was from Minnesota, was their announcer, and he couldn't make the deal. So I did the show that night. I set the mic, because you couldn't hear.
Right.
It just 50 laps nonstop with 20, I think we started 28 cars that night. Vortex of sound. I looked at Todd after it was over, and I said, you got a better show than World Outlaws.
Yeah.
Anybody that can run a 50-lap main event on dirt, green, white, checker, man, if you didn't like that show, I'll buy the ticket next time.
The thing about some of the traveling guys is they try their best to run it green, white, checkered because they know that they've shown up to some race with good local talent. But if they can outpace them on the lap count, then they got it made in the shade. So they will intentionally. You can kind of see the lap times get a little faster at the end because the local cars are starting to fall off. They don't, they get to the 20, 25, they're still good, but that 30, that's where it's either going to make or break you. And
Exactly.
If they can carry it out to 40, the traveling guys are going to get it done.
I remember we took USMTS over to the Kansas State Fairgrounds half mile one year, and kept telling Todd, I said, it's a pretty big place, so let your guys know that you're parking on the north end of the grandstands. You're not going to be inside the racetrack and everything. Right. Well, their announcer gets there, and we're out in the tower, which the tower was still there. I was surprised 2 years ago when I was at the fair. I showed up at the fair. Tower's gone. You know how much history was in that tower?
Yeah.
My God, that thing used to be down on the racetrack.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Then they moved it up onto where they used to do the acts for the night shows on the top of the concrete bunker, and it's been there for 40 some years. I know that. But anyway, it was gone. So we're up in the tower, and I told their announcer, I said, he said, I'm going to go over off turn 4 and check with the guys, make sure everything's okay. I said, okay, well, you're about a 20-minute walk back when you get clear over there, so be aware. And he's gone for a good part of an hour. It gets to be about 6 o'clock now, and hot laps are starting to roll out, and I see him walking through the gate where we come out onto the racetrack there by the north end of the grandstands. He comes up there, and he says, just how freaking big is this place?
Yeah,
I said,
it's a big
it's
half
big.
mile.
It is big. I think it was measured when Musco first came over there. I think they measured that racetrack at a half mile on the bottom.
Yeah.
You go around the
I'm pretty
top,
sure.
it's a 5/8 or bigger.
Yeah, if you get around the wall, that's everyone always says, well, they're just around the tires. That's the shortest way around. That's the actual half mile.
That
they
is.
They don't want to run a 5/8 mile.
You're right, and it is. It's a big ass racetrack.
Yeah,
but what a great facility, and I'm so happy it's still going.
Yeah, was over talking to Phil and Nick Ballman at the big corner there, and they're excited to get going this year, and just excited to have it keep going. Because Phil's from Hutchinson, and just
and I've
legendary.
growing up in Hutchinson, I've always said that half mile is as much of an establishment as Kerry Salt is there in Hutchinson, or Packaging Corporation of America, which used to be back in the day. You went over to Hutchinson and you knew there was a big grandstand sitting over there in the middle of town, on the better part of town, because it's on the north end, and they ran dirt. Anytime you had, I can remember when I was going to Morgan Grade School, which was about 3 blocks away from the fairgrounds where I grew up. You could sit in school, and they'd have the truck and tractor pulls in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And with that grandstand and that roof, everything echoes all over that city. Anything's going on. And boy, when they put the race cars out there, you could hear them come out of 4. You knew where they were if you were a race for a fan at all, coming down the front straightaway, because you can hear. Then all of a sudden it goes quiet.
Yeah.
And then you could tell when they were coming back out of 3 and almost into 4, because that roof started to pick them up again.
Yeah.
You got to have that. That place has got to be there. Yeah. I mean, yes, it takes up a lot of the Kansas State Fairgrounds. Doesn't get used all that time, because fewer and fewer guys, especially in the latter years when we were running the place, fewer and fewer guys wanted to run on a half mile.
Right.
It was well known, if you had a stock car, which is a local division, and you ran it into that concrete wall over there at the Kansas State Fairgrounds, you'd probably take what's home in a paper bag. Mm-hmm. Your season's over.
It's done.
And most of the other tracks, you could fall off of the corners. You didn't have that concrete wall. So it's still got the novelty of the half mile. It's been there, the history over there,
right?
Unmatched.
The list of winners.
Unmatched from what has been over there. I would put that place up against Knoxville, up against Eldora. I mean, the track is what? It's about 120 some years old.
Yeah.
And
Phil told me what it was one time, and
I can't. I used to know, but I know it's over. I know it's well over 100 years old. But the history of that place, especially just over the 40 years I was there since I was 10 years old. I was going there, so I can remember when they ran trotters on that racetrack.
I don't even know what that is.
Trotters, that's where a horse hooks up to a one-seat buggy. Yeah, and you go around the track. They used to run trotters at the fair on that half mile.
Yeah.
I can remember my dad taking me to those races to watch the trotters. But just the history of that place and who's been there. Barney Oldfield, one of the old names of NASCAR, raced at the Kansas State Fairgrounds. It's to lose that place is you're losing history, and I understand history is why it's called history.
Right.
But if there's any way it can be saved, and thank goodness Phil's over there trying his butt off. He doesn't get a whole lot of help.
No.
And
it's not easy.
No, and there's not a whole lot of fair board members that are on that board that really give a hang about cars going in a circle over there. Right. So, bless his heart for what he's doing.
He, we know his Nicole Powers opened in 1910.
1910, my God, do the math on that.
Yeah.
I almost called that 120 some years. Good close. Call, Nicole. Thank you.
But talk to Phil, because we have both the tracks, and with something that didn't happen a long time ago, social media, right? Everyone's got something to say, and everyone has an opinion, and welcome to it and welcome to hear it. But that's probably the toughest part, because like you said, there's meteorologists everywhere, and there's lawyers everywhere, and everyone's a promoter, and it's tough. I commend Nick and Phil have a lot going on they're
Oh, yeah.
they're Jake's trying to race and they're trying to run a dealership and they're trying to run a parts place, plus they're trying to run a half mile racetrack. So they have a lot going on, but we can all get together and talk about racetrack woes every once in a while and things that they encounter and we've encountered. And
I can, every time I go back, and like I say, that's my own hometown, so I go back, and when they used to run the national championship jalopy races,
Yeah.
when Jack Merrick had it out of Dodge City, he was the promoter at Dodge City Raceway, or at the Dodge City Fairgrounds track, and they used to come in on Saturdays, the supers. They didn't run anything else but supers. That's all they ran. They'd time trial on Saturday. That's all they did.
yeah,
Then they'd all head to those horse barns and all those barns, unload, and there'd be some major league parties going on there Saturday night. I used to ride my Stingray bicycle, purple metal flake, badass. Used to ride it through there, and I'd see all these guys over there. Then you'd see them Sunday afternoon out there racing on that 110 degrees. They used to run 100-lap races. Then they lowered it to 50. And then the Hoosiers and Goodyears came in, and
Right.
all those hard tires were gone, and now we can't go more than 20 or 25.
yeah.
So,
They run that 100. I think it's 100-lap USAC. Is it USAC?
yeah, it is.
USAC race over there, and they got lap. Jim Petty, a guest on the show. We lost him shortly after he was on the show, but kind of got that going on for the lap sponsors and some big money. So we raced the same night that they do that one, but kind of went back and watched some highlights. That's pretty cool to see him rip around there for 100 laps, because that's really the test of
It is.
the test of equipment.
It is. My only take on that is you're not going to tell me that you're going to start 24 cars or whatever the field number is, and they're going to race on that big half mile for 100 laps. Not happening. No. We're going to cruise for 75.
Yeah.
Now, we might run the last 15 to 20. But what are you doing that first 75? We're just out there holding our position or feeling this thing out, feeling the car out. It's always been an abrasive racetrack.
Oh, yeah.
If you're over there during the state fair, where when I'm there, I'm down there in the infield because I need to be close to the manager's stage and the entertainers lounge in case we have a backstage meeting or something like that. But you'd be amazed. I don't know where the sand comes from. I think it just settles over the fairgrounds from people shuffling their feet and all of a sudden you get up one more and it's all over the place.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere, and you can dig it down. If you can till that track deep enough, you can get to actual clay and dirt. But that sand, if it rains, here it comes right back up. And it's just amazing. So to tell me you're running 100 laps on one tire in an open wheel car on that racetrack, we might run 25. The first 75, we're there, 65, whatever, we're there for entertainment value.
Had a pretty good. I remember seeing some of the pictures. Had a pretty good curb around the wall. They were up there trying to get
that cushion they build up there, my God! But they're non-wing cars,
Right.
That's the thing that you got to have that to turn it.
Yeah.
That's why I love the super modifieds.
Yeah.
You can see the drivers in there. You put those big wings on. It always used to be a place here in Wichita called Don's Restaurant down on South Broadway.
Yeah.
All right. Every Monday, all the racers would meet down there.
Okay.
All the old guy. One guy had an article in National Speed Sport News. It wasn't really an article. It was his thoughts on the weekend. And if you cared about it, you read it. If you didn't, you just, well, how's your article coming in the newspaper this week? It was always a non-wing, wing, then straight ahead place.
Yeah.
The straight aheads were down on this big long table. Straight aheads would be down there. Then your wing guys, then the non-wings, and they'd sit there. And before long, you had an argument going. Put those expensive slot cars out there, and they'll do anything you want them to do with that wing on top. Give them a no wing, and you'll find out who really drives a race car. Well, it's the non-wings don't go as fast as the ones with the wings on top.
Right.
And I remember when NCRA first decided to put a wing on top of the 100-inch dirt champ cars. The very first time we went to Oklahoma City, there was 10 cars lined up at the scales. It was a windy day. And I thought, well, what the hell's going on here? Something's going on. Because nobody's weighing anything at that time of the day. I walked over to Shane Carson. What's going on, Shane? He said, Hardy, these guys are all, they're looking at where the wind's blowing because the wind is going to affect these wings.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to know where to station them. So they're putting them up here on the scales and letting the wind blow over to find out how much pounds extra weight it pushes down on that race car. So then, now, wait a minute. This wasn't the philosophy of putting the wing up there. It was to cushion the flip when those cars started rolling. That was the initial reason they put the wing up there. And I'm thinking, now then we're going to engineer, this wing is now going to become part of the race car as to how much downforce it creates on the, and it's just gone from there. It's amazing what racers can find out.
Well, once you start doing some stuff like that, everyone becomes a rocket engineer. And
they?
There's, I know that WSU has had people in the wind tunnel with wings, and how they go, and different speeds, and it's trying to understand everything about that wing on those cars, and same thing with the guys for the late model and the modifieds with spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
How hard it's set up,
yes.
how's the side,
and the modifieds are getting there now in a reference too. I remember Sammy talking to C. Ray one time, and Sammy was driving for Laverne Nance, Nance Speed Equipment, right down here on 49th, somewhere like that. Anyway, somewhere
29th.
29th, that's where it was. Yeah, and they were at Syracuse, the mile up at Syracuse, New York. Sammy Laverne had taken a new car up there, and Sammy was testing it out. And Laverne had told C. Ray, said, Sammy came back to me and looked at me and said, you know what? He said, if you'll let me turn that wing upside down, I think it'll take off on the back straightaway. Come on.
I think it's, I can't remember what track it is. Maybe it's Williams Grove when they get up there, and it's a certain time of year, but we're used to cars pulling the left front.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on a sprint car, if you've never seen it, if they have the wing just right, it'll pull the right front off of the ground. And then at Williams Grove, right before they go into turn 3, you can see the vapor trail coming off the bill.
That's always cool.
On the right
cool.
side.
Yep.
And it's I've only seen it a few times, but it's got to be just right. I mean, they got to have the wing pitch, and Jeremy Campbell could tell you all about.
He
Jake
could.
Ryder, could tell you all about moving it back and all that stuff. But just to see that right front pull up, and then they go into the corner, it's just cool. Yeah, I'm not a huge sprint car fan. I grew up with my uncle Doug and the modifieds and the late models, and the late models are probably my biggest draw that I love to see at the racetrack. But something about the sprint car and just the place that they can put the cars, and just how it, when they go down in the corner, and they just put it on a dime and
well, I've always been an open wheel fan. I love the Indianapolis 500. Roger Cornish used to be on Channel 12. He was from Hutchinson. In fact, when my dad had a TV show back in Hutchinson that was required by FCC, that the Hutchinson station, to retain their license, had to have so many hours a week doing live broadcasts there. So my dad had a TV show called Community Window with Joe Hardy.
Okay.
It would air from 7:15 to 7:30. And it was part of a 1-hour segment that had Fred Faby, who used to do the sports for Channel 12 back when it was KTVH.
Okay.
Joyce Livingston was part of the show, and Dad, and they would always break to Dad at 7:15, and we would this is leading into another story here, but the Dad's show was a public service show.
Okay.
So you weren't going to, I remember the Wichita Eagle wrote up all the 3 stations, Channel 3, 10, and 12, wrote up about their morning shows that were local one year, and they printed, only thing they said, if you tune into the CBS affiliate in Hutchinson, at 7:15 they break to Joe Hardy for a 15-minute public relations show, a public service show. Said, about all you're going to get out of Hardy is the location of the Bloodmobile for that week. Well, that pissed him off. but gosh, now, what was I going to tell? I was leading into a story there that just went straight out of my head. Okay. We'll get back to that one maybe sometime.
We got a few people here. Josh Slanderman wanted to know if you had to use Google Maps to get to the track. Wasn't sure if you remember where it was at.
Well, yeah, anybody that knows me, Andy, knows I don't travel. For me to get to Hutch, I can do it in one day.
Yeah.
That brings up another story, if we got time.
Yeah.
All right. We're talking about NDRA. Robert Small and all. We went to Kingsport, Tennessee. C. Ray and I did. Well, hell, I'd never been south of Tulsa, maybe if I went to Tulsa. And Smalley said C. Ray could bring the T-shirt trailer down there if I would come down and do the infield interviews. Well, this is the first year that ESPN radio came online.
Okay.
So when we get there, I'll get to that in a minute. So C. Ray and I, we've never been Kingsport, Tennessee. Where the hell is it?
Right.
It's close to West Virginia, I guess.
Yeah.
So we leave in the afternoon, drive to Oklahoma City, and we decide we've gone far enough. We stop. Okay, we stay the night there in Oklahoma and say, we ought to be able to get to Kingsport by tomorrow. We go down for breakfast, and there were some people down there, and we were talking about the race, and we had some of the T-shirts on that said Stroh's $250,000 NDRA, Kingsport, Tennessee. They were from Tennessee. And we said, well, we're on our way to Kingsport. We'll probably be there, but I say, you got any idea how far Kingsport, Tennessee is from where you're at right now? Jesus, we drove 14 hours that day to get to Kingsport. And all I remember is Shonuff, SHONUFF barbecues. I remember those. We get there to Kingsport, Tennessee, and just unbelievable. It's an old horse track, the seating all the way around it. They're parking them 3 blocks away, and they practiced Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday they did time trials. I remember this story. Willie Kraft from Minnesota. He was one of Smalley's big guys to tout.
Yeah.
But Kraft and Smalley were at each other at that time. And I didn't know this. So I'm down in the infield. ESPN, I've got their radio is hooked up with us. I've got the headset. One side's coming from the tower. One's coming from ESPN when they're going to go to break on something like that. Willie comes out for hot laps or for his time trial, and the car in front of him had kicked a little bit of water out onto turn 4. Willie hit it just right and spun. Well, Willie now is going to about a G feature on Saturday.
Oof.
So I know Willie Kraft from the times he's been here, and I know he's not a G feature car.
Right.
What I didn't know is him and Smalley weren't getting along. So I get Willie, and I said, Willie, I need you over here. We need to talk about that, what happened on that water that got kicked up, because you're not a G feature car, but that's where you're coming. He gets on the mic, and I ask him a question. He said, immediately started to roll off on NDRA and Robert Smalley. And the rules that they've got are so jacked up and all that. And I hear on this side, Hardy, get him off the mic now. I get done with the interview there, and on the right ear I hear, Hardy, we need you up in the tower. I get up in the tower, and that was a hell of a walk at that time. Smalley's up there. Smalley looks at me, he says, we don't interview Willie Kraft. Okay, somebody needs to tell me who we talk to and who we don't, apparently, because I'm just going down for where the story's at. Yeah, that was, never forget that. Smalley was hot. And Willie just read off the rule book on NDRA and Robert Smalley on that deal. And it was, okay.
It's always funny with the drivers if they know the rule book pretty good when it's against them. They know
exactly
every word. They know where you misspelled something on page 4. They know everything.
Exactly. But that was kind of a fun deal down there. It was a hell of an event, and I think it was like 2 years after that NDRA Robert closed it up, and then Smalley passed away. I think Skip's still around somewhere, but
I don't know. It
was still a hell of a series.
Yeah,
hell of a series.
Lot of late models making kind of a comeback. It never really went anywhere, but a lot of drivers are either getting them a car or, we kind of go through these cycles. There was a time when, of course, Tora came out.
Tora.
Lonnie and the crew got Tora started and had some challenge races with the NCRA and probably, two of the most well-known series for late models. It just competitive on both sides. Great drivers on the NCRA side, great drivers on the Tora side, just kind of traveling around the Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma. But those were, early 2000, late 90s, early 2000s. Those were when I was about 18, about graduated.
You remember MLRA then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that became what, Lucas Oil, didn't it? Isn't it the Lucas Oil series now? Might not be.
No, because it was the Lucas Oil MLRA series. It was sponsored by Lucas. I don't think it was.
When it first came out, it was MLRA.
Yeah.
That's all it was. Missouri Late Model Racing Association. Right. And they had some good talent there.
Yeah.
Had some, there's some great drivers from Oklahoma, Nebraska, Missouri, Colorado, Oklahoma. They're just, Kansas. And then you're right. So for some reason, the late models died out for a while.
It always does in racing. The money just gets stretched out there. You're kind of, they let it get out there to $120,000 motors and all this, stuff. And then someone goes, okay, we got to reel it back. And then we get it back kind of in a manageable state where someone that doesn't own a multi-million-dollar company can afford to go racing, and then we let it stretch it back out there. So, and I was talking to Lucas Gibbs the other day, and we're in the stretching it out part of it.
Is that right?
And that's how I feel. We're in the everyone's getting one. Stuff's going to get a little more. It's already expensive. It's going to get a little more expensive.
And my question to you guys has always been, how do you stop that?
It's tough. Because the crates came out, all the crate stuff, and that was good. But then it's okay. Well, if you got to you got to have this fan, this carburetor, this spacer, these headers. So then you let it stretch it out again. Then you're like,
and
okay,
most of the
might
time
as well
that's
just be open
sponsorship
motor
money for the series,
right?
That's requiring that. But it always amazed me that, especially in World of Outlaw racing, how can you tell a guy that has got like a Wink Hartman that comes in with a sprint car? How are you going to tell Wink Hartman how much money he can spend?
Right.
How are you going to tell him? And then who's going to back that up and watch it and see that he doesn't spend it?
Regulate it, yeah.
Yeah. You're governed too many by too few.
I think the biggest thing to that is, what NASCAR is doing. You buy your control arms from this place. You buy your wheels from but
not everybody runs the same series.
I don't know what a NASCAR costs. Got to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to put one together. So that's where they've tried to regulate it, make it more of a stock, even though it doesn't look like a car.
And you're talking anytime you talk the premier divisions, whether it's asphalt or dirt, whether it's the late models or the outlaw sprint cars, the 410 sprint cars. When we were at Melissa's place at Christmas, and I was talking to some of the guys. Rico goes down the street with 6 engines in there. Those are $70,000 a piece
or more.
How are you competing?
Yeah.
If you're traveling and you've got 2 engines, and how are you going to tell that person? How are you going to tell Tony Stewart that owns the car he can't have 6 motors in there?
Right.
Well, the poor guy that's got 2 is not showing up to win probably.
Right.
And now then you throw the high limits in there. That's what I always found funny. And C. Ray was a big open wheel fan too.
Yeah.
That's where he and I really got along. You start out with the 410s, okay, but it got too expensive when we got into the aluminum and all that stuff.
Right.
So now we're going to bring in the 360s. So that happened. 360s was a good deal when it first came in, but all of a sudden, 360 motor was going pretty fast.
Right.
Well, I learned a long time ago. Leland McSpadden out of Tempe, Arizona, once told me, Hardy, these things don't run on fuel; they run on money. So we're going to now then the 360s, because they're going faster, are now almost about to approach the cost of a 410 engine.
Right.
So now we need to get a 305. Well, I'm telling you, if you can afford a late model or an open wheel race car, you can't tell me how much money I'm going to spend. Even I don't care what motor I got in there,
Right.
because there's things that are going to make this 305 go faster than just a 305. And if I can buy it, I'm going to buy it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I own the thing.
Right.
Same way with the 360. Same way with the 410. It's if you're going to run the premium division, why do we have to break it down to try to make it less expensive? Because it isn't going to be less
No.
expensive.
Well, the thing is even if say you have a motor rule where you try to cut some save some money there, they're gonna spend that extra money on shocks, on wings, on
God,
bodies.
go price some shocks right now.
Oh man,
Holy
ridiculous.
smokes!
You know that this year we're really lucky. JR, Katie, John Allen have put together absolute awesome schedules for both tracks. We're going to see 410s, 360s, 305 sprint cars. We're going to see late models, but the difference between the 410, 360, and 305 separately, they're flying around here. Now, you get them together, obviously, you're going to find out the difference between the 410 and the 305.
Exactly,
But,
yeah.
they're still ripping around the Speedway here, really good and putting down some good lap times. We've seen some track records get broken. The late models just continue to do it year after. They just get qualifying, just gets faster and faster and faster. And the sprint car, I think Sammy's lap time still stands, but they're knocking on the door. They're right there. So there's like you said, the ultra rich that are into racing, you're not going to regulate them on the money. It's just going to get to a point. But some of the problem is the person that has to work 8 to 5, a blue collar job. They just can't. You're going into it. All right, what's 11th pay? Can I get paid for 11th and be able to go to the next show?
And then my next question to the sanctioning bodies is the price that you pay to get into a World of Outlaws show or a high limit show or a top notch late model show. Not everybody's showing up.
Right.
And you're paying if Andy Clark is leading the World of Outlaws and I paid $45 or $60 to come see Andy Clark. Well, no, he went to a high limit show because it was down there and he knew ABC wasn't going to be there because they were here at 81.
Right.
Who got crapped on right there?
I'm happy in the racing world that there is enough cars to run USMTS, to run Heartland, to run High Limits, to run World of Outlaws. I'm happy as a fan that there's enough cars to do these series. But if Tanner Mullins is leading the USMTS points, but we're going to run a Heartland race here at the Speedway, he's going to go to the USMTS race. Even if he's got to drive to Minnesota, what I mean?
Taking Tanner's name into it, what a great career he's had already, and he's going to win that USMTS.
He's right there.
God, I'm pulling for. I just know he's going to. But is it fun and is it fair when he drops down off of USMTS to run a Heartland series? Is it fair to he drops off of USMTS to run a weekly night show here at 81 Speedway?
Well, if you remember back to last year for Heartland Modified, would have been 2 years ago when they kicked it off. USMTS was having a lot of trouble with moisture at racetracks.
Oh yeah, they're getting rained out all the time.
We still hold the record for the highest car count for a Heartland show here at 81 Speedway, but there was 40, 50, 60 cars, and Terry Phillips is showing up, Lance Murray, Rodney Sanders, and here these guys are they're going to try to follow the USMTS, but they can't go race, so they're at a Heartland show.
They drop in as a bounty hunter.
Right.
They come in, and what happened to all of your regulars all of a sudden that ran that Heartland series? Now, sixth is about as good as I'm going to get out of this.
The good thing with the Heartland series, and I got to give a plug to Chase Sig over at Iola, because he came out first year, got himself been running a B mod for a long time, got himself an A mod, shows up for that first Heartland show and wins a heat race. So local guy, blue collar, just trying to put tires and fix your vehicle. He wins himself a Heartland heat race. So it does happen. I mean, the Heartland deal is so competitive, and the modifieds are they're super competitive, but they're all spending about the same amount of money. So it's a crapshoot who is going to win.
The
one of those
Heartland
shows.
Modified Tour, I think, was a neat deal when it came up. And I hope they maintain it because it gave that middle division, the middle drivers
Right.
that couldn't travel or for some reason didn't want to travel, it gave them a place to run and a
Right.
series to race for. You know, all of a sudden you didn't have USMTS dropping in. Like you said,
Right.
if USMTS is up in Wisconsin, they're certainly not coming to Oklahoma.
Right.
The next day or something like that. And it's a neat play. And now they've got a late model series, don't they?
Yep.
They're kicking off. Is that this year, the first
Yep,
year?
they're going to come out this year. Kind of going to run in the Missouri area. They're teamed up with Power Eye and do some
Okay,
stuff. And
okay.
so I've talked to Trenton a little bit about it, but I've not dived into it just because we're not going to see him here at the Speedway. You know, maybe I catch them somewhere else and I'll get a little bit more, but I haven't dived into it, you know, just yet. But yeah, it's a Heartland deal is awesome, and the crew at Racing Dirt is great to work with, and they care about the racers. And one thing I wanted to say is Chad Wheeler, of course, was running some Heartland stuff, and he had a he had a little complaint after a Salina show, and so he's out here in the parking lot here at the Speedway, and he's talking to Trenton, and he's telling him, and he goes, "But I want to tell you, this feels like when we used to run the NCRA. This is the best of the best." And you're still getting the top guys, but you got the local guys, and they're competitive. And you know, I just want to say thanks for, you know. So
that's cool.
So that brought it, you know, because I would run around with the NCRA and Nick Ballman and Tyler Davis. My uncle would run some NCRA stuff back in the day with the late model. So that's my childhood. That's the traveling series that I remember, you know, going around, and it's been a breath of fresh air for the Heartland series to kind of revive that. You know, like you said, the Dan Powers, the Kelly Shipmans, the Edward Leaseys, Chase Klinkner, those people who have normal jobs can still be on a good paying to win race, travel around, see some different tracks, and be able to drive home and go to work the next day. It's been good.
And that's important to that group.
Right.
It definitely is. And that's, you're right. That's basically the premises that NCRA was founded on was, you know, back then they had a certain number of tracks, Tulsa, Dodge City, Hutch, or no, I don't know if Hutch was a part of that. Fairgrounds was, Tulsa was, Muskogee. There's some tracks I'm leaving out on that. Dallas at Devil's Bowl, Lanny was part of that.
Yeah.
But you know, if Devil's Bowl had a race, nobody raced them. They all sucked to Devil's Bowl, and the modifieds. You're exactly right. You've got so many modifieds out there right now that for Heartland to come in and do what they did gives them a place to race. Now I don't have to go hunt. Where's USMT? Good God, they're going to Wisconsin this weekend. I can't get that far.
Right.
But, you know, Heartland's over here, and they're staying right in the area that NCRA used to travel around in. And it makes it, like you said, makes it a feasible deal for the guys that don't want to go chase the series all over the United States.
Because it's good competition, and it pays good money, and you have some promoters that care. It's about the racers. It's about, you know, having them. So that's been good. To bring up, Devil's Bowl, and it's kind of happening across the country with tracks shutting down. You've seen a lot of tracks come and go back away, you know, and I would say in the last couple of years there's been a little fall off in tracks, but there's been a revival of stuff
there has
happening
been a little
well.
bit, yeah. But you know, that entertainment dollar right now is so hard to get.
Yeah.
So hard to get. I mean, everything that you do is your entertainment out here.
Right.
But entertainment, look at the entertainment there is in Wichita that you can go if you don't go to 81 Speedway. Everything is entertainment, and that entertainment dollar is getting so much harder to spend with families of four. I remember one year playing in a golf tournament, and Bill Koch is playing in front of us. We were standing on the tee box, and I introduced myself from 81 Speedway. He said, you know, I haven't been out there. Never been out there. I said, Koch brothers, with all the racing you do in sailboats and everything, have never been to 81 Speedway? He said, no, never. So I had a card, and I signed, admit to. Didn't think I'd ever see him again.
Right.
2 weeks later, I'm heading up to the tower, and I just get set down, and you can spot Bill Koch in a hurricane. Here he comes between the grandstands with his wife. They go up about 4 rows on the grandstand, main grandstand, and sit down. Well, we get the cars out there for wheel packing and everything. He's still down there. I'm looking down there. Bring it out. We do the national anthem. They come out for hot laps. We get ready for the heat race. We go through a couple of heat races. I look back down there while we're getting another one out there, and they're gone. Well, maybe they went to the concession stand. Okay. So rest of the night, never saw him. Forgot all about it. Got to the Speedway Monday morning. Melissa answers the phone and said, Hardy, Bill Koch wants to talk to you. What? Really? So I get on, Mr. Koch. I said, I saw you out here Saturday night, but you weren't here. I missed you after the hotline. He said, Warren, let me tell you something. He said, you know, I bring people in from all over the world that would be just amazed at what goes on out here because they'd never seen it before. Have you ever thought of sweets? And I said, yeah, we have. In fact, we've got blueprints, but Bill, it costs some money. He said, let me tell you. He said, we were sitting there about 4 rows up. I said, yeah, I saw where you and your wife sat down. He said, everything was fine till after the national anthem, and you brought those cars out for hot laps. My wife, a mud ball, missed her leg by about 2 inches, and we were out of there. She said, I'm done. That's all. I'm going home.
Wrap this up.
He said, if you ever get sweets out there, let me know. He said, I'll buy 2 of them because the people I bring in from across the world, not just the United States, would be amazed at what you guys do out there.
Right.
Well, still waiting for JR to put the sweets in out here.
Well, there's more blueprints, but it is very expensive, and there's a lot of regulations. A lot of people ask about them, but the long and short of it is, because of compliance issues and ADA, there has to be a elevator. If you've ever priced an elevator, I don't know if you have not lately, but it's
welcome to OSHA.
They're very expensive.
Yes,
and there's some structure things that would have to happen, and some other and that I think that Katie does not lay awake at night and think about the sweets, but JR lays awake at night and thinks about how do we get sweet, because since we have both tracks, right, we have a great comparison. And
I think you've got suites at Humboldt.
So we have one beautiful box up there, and there's a suite. I'm in the middle, race direction, and everyone is off to my right, and then there's some suites off to the left, and we have this beautiful box, right? But we don't have the super nice lights, or we don't have the Musco system over there. So we would love to have a super nice suites and box up here, but it's shy of $1 million, I think, was the last.
Is that what it is now?
But the elevator is a couple hundred. I don't
know
if we priced elevators lately.
I didn't price them because we never got that far. But in our blueprints, it did call for an elevator. You had to have your own entrance and exit.
Yep. And
we were going to have available seating out in front of them, so you didn't have to stay inside of them.
Right.
And all. I believe they were going to hold 20 people each suite. We had 6 suites that we were going to put from one end of the grandstand to the other with a catwalk on the backside and all. But then you got to have restrooms,
right?
The elevator, it's amazing the money. But I say that, and I say if you had suites, even if you didn't sell them to a corporation or something like that, I wouldn't sell one suite just to leave it open for that night.
Right.
That if somebody wanted to come in and it's 110 degrees outside and you want to be in air conditioning and out of the dirt, I can sell you, upgrade you to a $25 ticket, and you've got a suite, and I'll have somebody cater your food to you and drinks and all that. And I think that'd sell. Yeah. Might be that you'd had to open 2 of them. Yeah. But it's, it's like you said, it's something you got to get there first. Yeah. It's a very long list of things we would love to do here at the Speedway, but
the main denominator in all of it is a little bit of cash.
And every time I see JR, I haven't been back out here. Well, this is the first time I've been out here in 5 years since, I think it was 5 years ago, Sea Ray sold the place.
We're on our sixth.
Okay,
This will be the sixth race.
This is the first time I've been out here, and what he's done out here is amazing. My God. It's not the 81 Speedway I grew up at.
So one of my next questions, I got a couple more before we get done, but it is someone that's been out here and seen the evolution. I always want to know people's thoughts. You've seen I don't know when you started coming out, if it was still just the hillside and the.
I wasn't here for that.
Okay.
That was back at Mohawk Speedway, and I didn't even know 81 Speedway existed.
Okay, so they had the
railroad ties into the side of the hill.
So the grandstands were here and some of that, but no wall, and I'd assume that the Sprite and the Coca-Cola Tower were
ever
in the
since
middle.
I can remember it was
so
there.
some of that stuff, it was just deteriorating, and it was it was going to cost more money to try to keep
Hell, we
it
almost
up.
had rainouts from the Sprite and Coke tank leaking. Some nights it would leak so damn bad back there, because that's where they always used to get the water for the water truck. And we'd almost have a rainout back there on the back straight in the middle of it from the leaks that were in those tanks.
Right.
But no, what he's done here is Sea Ray always wanted to improve it, and I remember the year they installed the Musco sports lighting.
Mm-hmm. What year was that? Because we always talk, because we had to take it out, obviously, because of the lightning strike. But we were thinking it was that year he put it in to do the Outlaws show that was on.
Well, we did it because we had that. Yes, it was
TBS
on,
or whatever.
Right. Yeah, we had that. We had them come in
like early mid 90s.
I would go with that.
Yeah.
I'd go with that. And when we turned those on the first time, we all stood there and looked and said, shit, we got to clean all that up. Because all of a sudden you could see where we'd hidden everything, where it was in the shadows and the dark, and it wouldn't be seen in daytime. Yeah, we stood there and walked around the Speedway and back by the concessions and the ice house. And oh, shit, we got to clean this up. You can't stay like that. You can see it now.
Right.
But what JR has done out here. Sea Ray always wanted to try to improve the place, but the cost of running one of these places is, and you guys are finding out,
it's immense.
I mean, you can't write in $1,000 a week and expect to break even on it. It's not going to happen. But what he has done is the place is now a show place. Mm-hmm. It just is. It's not. When I used to come over for the supers on Sunday night, first place we'd go is Charcoal Bill's, right underneath the grandstand, for one of his big old fat greasy beef burgers that would just choke you. And if you put a hot link on there, you weren't sure where it came from, what dog he killed to get that one in there. But man, were those. I used to eat 2 of those a night, and by the time I stuffed the second one down, I don't think I could swallow anymore, because it was just, you didn't need anything more. But we used to do, the whole place is just, it's a show place now. It really is. It's not the place, the 81s. I remember when 77th was a dirt track. It was dirt. And I used to ride over here before I ever met Sea Ray or Bo Klein or any of them. Clarence Bontrager drove the 7B late model. Yeah. Used to ride over, and we'd get down Amadon, get to 77th, and he'd stop, and Richard Wilbanks and I'd crawl in the toolbox. Because it was a flatbed trailer back there. We'd crawl in the toolbox because we didn't have enough money to get in, buy a pit pass. Yeah. Shit, they'd pay off, they'd come down, then pretty soon we'd hear this knock on the tools. Okay, we can crawl out now. We're in the infield. Worked out pretty good.
Start handing them tools.
We just stayed away from anybody that had a shirt on said official. Yeah. But gosh, and kudos to what he's done out here. I mean, the place deserved it. And Sea Ray always wanted to do something like this, but like we've talked before, the money it costs to do these things. That new lighting system he put in. Yeah. Wow, I wouldn't want that sticker.
Yeah, and thankfully the insurance, because the lightning strike took care of some of it, but we have great owners. JR and Katie and John Allen had to come out of their own pocket to put some of that in, just because but at the time, Knoxville was the only one that had
Yes,
the
you're right.
system or the better. They actually had a little bit better because they had colored lights in there, and JR just couldn't quite swing the extra money, or didn't want to for that. But I understand it was a very large, ticket to get that taken care of. But, and some other tracks have went to the Musco system that we have, and do the light shows, and we had some complaints about the light shows, and we don't do enough warning, and it does black out the place.
Oh, is that okay?
Yeah, so that we've tried to do some like Victory Lane celebration where it puts the spotlight on Victory Lane, but unfortunately it does black out some of the other. So there was some trip hazards, and so we try to limit,
okay.
we don't want to limit it. We want to do it as much as possible, but we try to give a little bit of a warning or
And
parade laps.
and it's all about
stuff
the
like
fan
that.
experience
Right.
too. I've for a long time, C. Ray and I and the family, Dick Coleman and Russell Hoole and Russell Keeler, and we all talked about it's getting to the point now where people want to be entertained. And if I don't like the 4-cylinder cars, why are you making me sit up there and watch them?
Right.
Give me something to do.
Yeah.
Build me a bar back here that's got monitors in it that's showing me that I can come back here and talk to other people or visit, have a cold beer or something like that, and I can watch that monitor when the 4 cylinders are done, if I didn't want to watch them, or if the stock cars are done, or whoever it is. Okay, we need to get back up to our seats because
Right.
they're starting to roll this division. Give them something. You go to a baseball diamond. They've got more for you to do there at that baseball diamond,
yeah.
just sit in that seat.
Yeah.
Racetracks have got to start looking at that. What am I doing to entertain the fans,
Right.
the kids, everything? Because to get somebody out here at 6:00, and then let's say everything goes fine that night. We don't have any problems. We're leaving 3 hours later. Guy used to tell me Hollywood makes movies that last an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes for a reason.
Right.
You're sitting out here for 3 hours. You get here at 6 and you're leaving at 10. That's a 4-hour time that you sit in that
Right.
chair. Because let's face it, race fans know where they want to sit. And if it's a good crowd, we're not getting up too much that night because I don't want to lose my
Right.
seat, or my area that I've got
Right.
right there is going to cave in. That's a long time sitting in one spot and watch something go in a circle.
I get a little disappointed, when we're here for a race night, and say we run the modifieds second or third feature, everyone gets up and leaves, and I'm kind of like, you're gonna miss a lot. Like, still got 2 more features, 3 more features, you're gonna miss a lot. And
Well,
I do,
and I know exactly where you're coming from, Andy, because I've been in that situation. I've invited people out, and they told me, Hardy, we got to leave at 9:30 or by a 9:45 because we're going to meet somebody at someplace else, at
Right.
a nightclub or somewhere like that. So their time, yes, I got here at 7, but their time is already built into when they're going to leave. So if I'm not done,
right.
yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'll tell you tomorrow what you missed. But
Yeah, of course the mini stock and tuners, some people are, I get up and walk around, and I'm like, do you realize there's 30 of them here tonight? Like, last year that was probably the highest, registered car
I
count
heard
we
that.
had
I've
for the
heard that. And that
4-cylinders.
amazes me because
And
we couldn't get a dozen of them.
There was a couple times that they outdrew the modifieds and the stock
Wow.
cars for
Unreal.
car count on a weekly championship night. So it's growing, it's evolving. I know there's a few more cars. I know some of them have stepped up to other divisions. So I don't know what the registration looks like. JR or Katie could chime in and tell us, but it's free right now. If you're listening, you need to get registered, and before you got to pay the girls on opening night, and we'd like for you to be registered before you come for practice night. Just a little plug there. I'll get in trouble by Katie if I don't say that.
That's coming up Saturday night. isn't it?
Saturday night.
Yeah.
Yep. Kind of grandstands aren't open for the practice. It's just kind of be a closed practice, and there's been a little resistance on that, but it all comes down to money. It costs. There's insurance to have people in the grandstands, and there's money to payroll that has to be paid for people to be here to have the grandstands open. So, unfortunately for the first practice of the year, it's going to be no grandstand. We do invite you to the pit area because, like I said, you want to get down there, see what a team goes through. They're changing shocks, they're changing tires, they're moving 4-link bars, they're they figure out if they got everything welded on the brake system the first night.
Yeah, that's
there's a lot of stuff happening there, but it's going to be a good time. And then March 28th, the Outlaws will be back.
I know it, boy.
I'm excited. I know we've had not the best of luck the last little bit with the weather, but we're
And they
praying
get
for a
winded
good
out?
time. Yeah, twice.
That's and
So
that's
the
hard
Outlaws
for,
have been winded out, and then the High Limit, which we're not going to have them back this year. They've got rained out. So midweek money shows for the Roto-Rooter Series midweek money stuff. They've got rained out. So it's not been the best, but it's outdoor venue. What you think suites are expensive? Try to put a roof over the place to be able to race no matter what.
We talked about that a few times too, briefly. Yeah.
Real short conversation.
Real short conversation
understand
there.
It's just not going to work out, but yeah, it's it's been fun.
And 81 Speedway has always had some of the best local entertainment.
Yep.
Whether it's stock cars, like I say, the four cylinders really didn't catch on while I was still around, but they are now.
Yeah.
But the stock car, some of the best races we ever had were in that Thumper division.
Yeah.
My God,
stock
and that was a
cars
beginner division.
Stock cars are still, there's a ton of them.
Really?
We got a couple of specials for stock cars that happen during the year.
Good.
And there's, I think one year there was 70 some of them registered. I think we saw up to 40 cars, on a couple nights, and
wow.
You're at that point you're sending some good talent home after a B feature.
Yeah, yes you are. Yes you are. That's right.
And that's been what's happened. I'm disappointed you haven't been out here the last 5 years.
Sherry
Hopefully
and I have
we can
talked
see you
about
this
it.
year.
Sherry and I have talked about it.
Yeah.
I got to tell you this real quick because I know we're running out of time. But when we came after C. Ray sold the place to JR and Katie, we had a family deal gathering out here for pictures and all that, and just a little remembrance and all. And Sherry, my wife, is not a race fan.
Yeah.
Not a race fan. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
Not even close.
But because I was out here, she wanted to be out here. So she, in the 40 years, she worked with Shirley, C. Ray's mom, in the office, and then stayed in the office. In the 40 years we were out here, she probably saw 12 laps of racing.
Yeah.
Is all. But didn't want to see it. She didn't care. We're leaving that day that we all met out here after the sale was final, and we're driving out, and we got out in the parking lot, and she said, "Stop the car a second." She looked over at the grandstand, and she said, "Okay, we can go." She said, "I probably won't be here again." We got out on 77th Street. She said, "Let me correct myself. I will never be here again." And she's not a race fan.
Right.
If I'm watching it at home, I'm going down to the basement.
Right.
Not having that on the TV upstairs. But because I wanted, and she loved the people. Oh my God. You don't know how many nights Sherry and I can hear when we live over here at Willow Bend, and we can some nights hear the cars over at the house. How many nights we've talked about, we miss the people.
Yeah.
The people were, it's a big fraternity is what this auto racing is.
Family.
And in dirt track racing, it especially is, because I can hate you one week because you spun me out, but I can loan you a part to get you into that 8 feature before we leave that night, and we're having a beer before it's over with.
Right.
The people are great, from the teams, the racers, the owners, the fans. That's what we miss the most.
Yeah.
What I don't miss is getting here at 3:30 in the afternoon and leaving at 11:30.
Yeah.
And playing golf Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, and knowing when I get home at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we got to leave in an hour and a half to get to the Speedway to stay till 11:30 at night again. Don't miss that at all.
Yeah.
Now I catch a nap down on the couch and crawl up the stairs and say, "Where are we going to eat tonight, Sherry?" Well, that's a different deal after 40-some years of that. But we really miss the people, and just want to say a big shout out to everybody that we ever met out here, because it's a big fraternity, and you are not forgot.
Yeah. About an hour and 40 minutes in.
We're that long? Holy cow.
Last question I have for you. Probably the most famous tagline in all of you're my childhood of announcing, right?
I've had that said to me more than 20 times.
I'll be 42 this year. I spent 42 years out here at the racetrack,
Wow.
and you're the only voice that I remember. But it's always the same. It's always the same send off.
Good night, everybody. It's cocktail hour.
Where did you come up with that?
You know, we the hay rakes I play golf with, and there's some hay rakes. Let me tell you. But we always get in after we get done playing and everything. We always sit down, and we never say we want a beer. We always say we want a cocktail.
Okay.
Well, when I went up to the tower, the year I went up to the tower, I thought, you know, the race is over. Playing golf's over, so it's cocktail hour.
Yeah.
Nobody's going home. We're all going to hang out here for an hour. So I said it one night, and somebody came up to me and said, "Where'd you come up with that?" I said, "I don't know." Good night, everybody. It's cocktail hour.
Yeah.
And that's, I've had, it's not a patented deal by any means. Anybody can use it. I just thought it was a great way to end the night because, and I'll never forget when we started that Thursday.
Yeah.
The cruisers. The first night I said we had a packed grandstand, and God, there were some drunks up in the grandstand. And I said, "Folks, the races are over. Drive careful going home. Good night, everybody. It's cocktail hour." And about 20 guys stood up and just screamed at me like that. Wow, what a way! It just stuck. So that was how it all began.
That's awesome. Well, man, it has been an absolute pleasure.
I appreciate the invitation. I really do.
That's a little, on my side, it was a little risky of a text to send us. Like, who is this guy? Who's this kid? I don't know who this is. And so I was ecstatic.
Well, I appreciate everything you guys do out here and carrying on the tradition, Andy. You know, I know that Jeremy's going to come back out this year, and the two of you, from what I hear from everybody, work well together.
Yeah.
So keep it going, buddy.
I'm excited. I'm going to do Humboldt. Jeremy's a teacher, so he's not going to be able to make some Humboldt stuff. So I'm going to do Humboldt upstairs, and then of course I'll come here and do some infield and upstairs depending on what's going on. But I'm like you. I like being down in the infield. I like talking to the right because I like taking pictures and shooting some video and getting some content for people that are not here. You know, we'll go live
which
on the
I
Facebook
think is cool.
page
That is neat.
Try to get that engaged. And so if you're at home and you're not able or whatever, you can at least see some hot laps or a little bit of this and that.
Give them a tease.
Fun. Yeah,
that's neat. That's good. Well, I hear nothing but good things about you guys, and wish you all the best.
We appreciate that very much. Race fans, that is going to do it for us. On behalf of everyone here at Humboldt Speedway and 81 Speedway, we're going to see you this weekend for open practice. Hopefully you make it out to the pit area, and we're going to see all the racers. Hopefully we get some photographers as well, and we'll share some pictures with that. But don't forget, March 14th, going to have the Enduro 150 laps for the Godfather 150, presented by Broadway Truck and Auto. March 28th, going to have the World of Outlaws. The 20th and 21st, Heartland Modified over at Humboldt. So it's fixing to just kick off. March 14th is going to do it. Is going to absolutely get it started. For the Enduro, that's going to be the start of race season here at 81. But for competitive modified action, the 20th and 21st over at Humboldt 2-day show, we'd love to have you there, and we'd love to see you in the grandstands. That is going to do it for us. Good night. God bless. We'll see you at the races.
Good night, everybody. It's cocktail hour.